How do you exploit weak chess squares your opponent defends? Imagine the board as a battlefield where every square can be a strategic point. Some squares are stronger than others, especially when your opponent can't easily protect them. When you spot a square that your opponent defends poorly or not at all, it becomes a prime target. These weak squares often appear after pawn moves that leave holes behind them, especially when pawns can't go backward to cover those spots again. The first step is to identify these weak squares. Look for places where pawns are fixed or have moved away, leaving behind an unprotected or lightly defended square. Once you find one, the best move is to place a powerful piece on it. Knights are excellent for this because they can jump into outposts and control many surrounding squares without being easily chased away. Bishops can also be effective if the square is on a diagonal, especially if it's a color complex your opponent cannot defend well. Next, support your piece on the weak square with your other pieces. Rooks can line up on open files that lead to or run along the weak square, putting pressure on your opponent's position. Queens and bishops can control diagonals that intersect the outpost, making it harder for your opponent to challenge your piece. The goal is to make this square a safe haven for your piece and a thorn in your opponent's side. Sometimes your opponent defends a weak square, but you can provoke more weaknesses. You do this by forcing pawn advances or exchanges that loosen their grip. Tactical threats or positional pressure can cause your opponent to overextend or make mistakes, creating new targets for you. Weak squares often come in groups of the same color, called color complexes. If your opponent's pawns are fixed on one color, the opposite color squares are often left unprotected. Targeting these complexes allows you to dominate large parts of the board, gaining a strong positional advantage. Patience is key. You might see a weak square that's defended but not strongly enough. Slowly maneuver your pieces to increase pressure, waiting for your opponent to slip up or create a tactical chance. While attacking your opponent's weak squares, be careful not to create similar vulnerabilities in your own position. Keep your king safe and avoid weakening your pawn structure in the process. In middle game play, exploiting weak squares often involves using knights to occupy outposts that your opponent cannot challenge with pawns. Position your bishops and queens to control diagonals supporting the outpost or targeting related weaknesses. Apply pressure on the pawn structure, defending the weak square to force concessions. Coordinate your rooks along open files that lead to or support the weak square. Launch attacks that use the outpost to threaten key points in your opponent's position, including their king's safety. By focusing on weak squares your opponent defends, you gain strategic control, restrict their piece activity, and create tactical opportunities. This approach can lead to material gains or a decisive attack, making it a fundamental part of middle game strategy. It requires careful planning, good piece coordination, and a clear understanding of positional play.